2014's Watch Dogs set you loose in a recreation of Chicago as Aiden Pierce, a guy who could hack and control virtually anything in his open world with a few taps on his phone. The idea of instantly taking control of your surroundings was irresistible to millions of players, and it's heading out west to the home of tech, the San Francisco Bay Area. But before we go there, we're visiting Ubisoft Montreal, the development home of Watch Dogs 2. There's a lot to discover about our new hacker hero Marcus Holloway and the new ways that he can control and influence his interconnected surroundings. To find out more, we asked the creators themselves about the real-world locations they chose to recreate and how you'll be able to hack into it all.
One of the things we've pushed a lot more is hacking. People like the idea. I think the grand promise of controlling an entire city is so big, it sparks the imagination of people. I think people wanted to do so many different things with it that we wanted to continue to push forward the second game. That's why Watch Dogs 1 was pointing at something, pressing a button. And Watch Dogs 2, when you point at something, you can either press a button or lock into it, and then you have more options to remote control, decide what you want to do with that object, and combine those possibilities with others to make more creativity out of it.
When we started looking at the feedback for Watch Dogs 1, it was clear that driving was polarizing. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. We wanted everybody to be able to have fun while driving, to drive where they wanted to drive without hitting walls all the time, be in control of their vehicles, but keep up the fact that every vehicle should feel different, every type of vehicle should feel different, and you should have depth and mastery in driving as you would in any other of the game mechanics.
Can you hack other cars while you're driving?
Yes, for sure. So right now, while you're driving, you can hack. You can even deploy your drones and hack into and remotely connect through your drones to have different point of view. You can shoot, which is something a lot of gamers ask. They said, you know what, that's the way I want to play. You know, I have a gun, why can't I shoot while I'm in a car? Okay, so now you can.
Watch Dogs 2 focuses on Marcus, a young hacker with a huge axe to grind with the system, thanks to being framed for a crime he didn't commit. And as he takes on the system of control that now dominates the game's Bay Area, he'll get a lot of help from a lot of friends.
Marcus Holloway, and you're going to hear this a lot, he's a gifted hacker, he's somebody who's very self-made, he's actually a really brilliant sort of charismatic figure, and I think it's actually that latter part that I love about the character, is that he's the kind of person that people will rally around.
You start off small, right? Marcus Holloway just joined into DedSec, and DedSec needs to fight this war against Bloom, which represents all the companies in the Silicon Valley, as well as the Bay Area for San Francisco. And they quickly realize that they need to have a certain amount of horsepower to pull off what they need to do. So when they go on that journey, it's all about like spreading the word, right? Like showing truths about certain companies, certain technologies. What's great about that is it makes it possible for us to explore a lot of different stories. So it's not just a revenge story or something like that. It's more like, okay, what about like the social media regarding the next election? Can I dig into that and then show how social media can impact our choices, a bit like what's going on in real life right now with the election in the United States? Or in complete opposite, end up talking about the evolution of AI and stuff like that with our company called like Titus. And then every time you do something and expose that truth to people, you get followers, which makes you the ability to level up.
We started realizing, okay, well, you know, we also want to talk about hackers as a community. We wanted to address them as being people that work together. The aspect of DedSec, of the community that we have, comes about through that they have to work together in order to accomplish things, and it cannot just be done alone.
It's definitely not a linear narrative, but there are some key beats in the story we want you to hit. So there's, I guess, operations you can just find in the world and do in any order. And then there's operations that will lead you to that key moment. And then because they're narrative continuity, you know, you need to hit that to have different operations. But mainly we unlock a lot in parallel, and you decide, you know, the order you want to do them. We're going away from some of those elements that we had, like hacking a tower will give you something and all that. That'll be more world exploration, and our narrative will be in an app called DedSec app, which is basically all the stories you find are unlocked and you can do them in any order. So the game structure is going to change, I mean, dramatically from Watch Dogs 1 to Watch Dogs 2.
Everything you do kind of gives you followers in the world. So we didn't want to say do these things in this order in order to get the amount of followers you need to tackle the problem. Instead, we're saying everything gives you followers. And if you want to do puzzles on the sides, you can do. If you do online, like cooperation with other players, you can do as well. If you don't want to do a certain main narrative story operation, you can completely dodge it and still finish what you have to do for the game.
We here at uBlog live and work in the Bay Area, so seeing San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Oakland, and Marin County transformed into a dynamic open-world sandbox is something of a dream come true. But what can we do in Watch Dogs 2's version, and how does it measure up against the real thing?
So we have, I think it's something like 150 things that we wanted to make sure we had, like key landmarks. I'm not going to run you through all of them, but it's not just Coy Tower and Sutra Tower and the Golden Gate. And the reality is, I think even people who live in the Bay are going to discover things in the game that are actually reflection of things that exist in the real Bay Area. Obviously, it's a great city for driving because of the iconic hills and slopes for sure, but then also because the kind of roads you have in Oakland, San Francisco, Marin County is very different.
One thing that was noticeable in one of our scouting trips was the amount of construction. And with construction, we had a lot of cranes, and that kind of triggered, I guess, a need for us to use that as a gameplay tool, and especially being a hacker, well, you can hack it. So it went well into our philosophy of remote control ingredients.
So our current design for fast traveling is you can fast travel to any of your HQ or any of the shops around the city. And since we have a lot of shops, it means we basically allow you to fast travel very easily around the world.
As intrigued as we are by its story and setting, the most immediately striking thing about Watch Dogs 2 is how different its action looks from the first game. Key to this is Marcus's fluid, context-sensitive parkour, but it turns out that's just the start of what's ahead.
Definitely the parkour is more an evolution of what Aiden had in the first game. It's not about making him climb everywhere all the time. I think it's more an ideal. Like you want to present a character with a certain flow that continues into everything he does. He's younger, more athletic, more daring, more into dangerous stuff. So I think when he moves, it's worthwhile to see that flow in a natural way. But then when it continues into the hacking, you want to continue to feel that flow, right? You don't want to point into something, press a button, you point, and you control it. And then you can continue having ideas. So even if you cross another player, you continue with him, and it's more about this flow to make sure everything rolls naturally.
Yeah, the Thunderbolt is a really cool weapon. So what we're doing with melee is we're keeping a contextual melee, as in Watch Dogs 1, but we want it to be more granular. So you don't have to take down people lethally, so you can have various degrees of takedowns. We're keeping a very fast, effective melee system, but try to combine it with the fact that Marcus is a very fast character, very agile character, so you can chain it more naturally in your movement.
All our missions are 360, meaning there is a goal, there's a problem and objective, you need to do something. And then you can approach this problem any way you want. It can be combat, stealth, or as a hacker.
There's two things that in design that we really wanted to push with hacking. First one was being more analog, which means making sure each element could be controlled in different ways. So you really want to make sure, for example, when you point at a car, you can lock into it and then make it accelerate, steer left, right, backward, layer these inputs on top of each other so it almost feels like you're controlling a car from a distance perfectly. So you can do that with every car around you. Then, at the same time, you have those gadgets that you can throw everywhere that are sticky to everything. One of them is more destructive, the other is more stealth taser-like, so you can play the way you want. So players start having a what-if moment, right? Wait a minute, I can hack every car, I can stick stuff into everything. Can I throw a bomb into the front of a car? Can I turn that bomb into a proximity trigger and then accelerate the car from a distance to then throw a movable bomb into 6 persons in a row? The answer to that is yes. Can I throw my flying drone into the air and then stick a bomb to that and then see what happens with that? Does it work? Yes.
Can you lose the flying drone?
Yes, but you can recraft it on the fly. Crafting an object is just like it's a cooldown where the character can recraft it after a certain amount of time. So we don't want to create that feeling where, oh my God, my precious flying drone, I don't want to take risk with it. It's quite the other way around. Go, try something out.
So the more fame you get through DedSec, the more followers you get, and that gives you research points to invest in hacking. You can develop all your hacking skills. We're adding 3D printing, so you can print your weapons, you can print your remote control jumper, your quadcopter, your drone.
We want to make sure that every mission in the game, we don't force you down a certain style. So any mission in the game, you can play full stealth or full ghost. Which doesn't mean not using hacking, and which doesn't mean not using weapons, but we have, for example, the taser weapons, silence pistols, that supports the ghost play style. And you have a lot of hacks you can do that will help you infiltrate areas stealthily. We have the aggressor style, which is basically full gun blazing, and then we're adding a lot of different hacks and weapons and customizable weapons for the player to do this. And even the drones can help you be an aggressor. For example, we have drones that you can upgrade to deploy some explosive, as that's the way you want to do it. And then the third style is what we call the trickster, which is relying heavily on hacking. And oftentimes you don't even go in the danger area. You can stay outside, use your drone, use your hacking, and infiltrate the area through that. Play with people, manipulate the AI, and get to your objective, oftentimes without even setting foot in the mission layout. One of the things we're adding to Watch Dogs is what we call network hacking. When you get into that mode, you can see through walls and you can see in the entire area all the hackable ingredients. So that way, if I'm in front of a wall, I can go in network hacking, I can see a camera behind it, I can see a computer behind it, I can see a car or someone, I can hack that person or I can hack that thing through the wall.
In contrast with the lone wolf narrative of the first Watch Dogs, community and cooperation will be major themes in Watch Dogs 2. And that's reflected in your ability to get help not just from other players, but from the Bay Area's citizens as well.
When you start the game, you can just meet another DedSec friend anywhere in the city. So it can be a complete stranger, but you know they're part of DedSec and you know they're allies. You have a contact list in your phone, and you can actually jump in the game of your friends. So you can actually provoke that situation with someone you know, and then go and co-op if you want to. And if players don't want that, they can turn this off. You know, there's a whole set of missions that are meant to be done in co-op. So it's really a new layer we're adding to the whole open world of Watch Dogs 2.
Can you still invade other players' games and grief them?
Yes, we're bringing that back. That hacking was the most popular online gameplay we had. So, and now I imagine that with the drone, the RC jumper, the net hack. So we're actually expanding the mechanics of that with our new toys. So it's going to get an improvement also in Watch Dogs 2.
Watch Dogs 1 was very much about mass surveillance, but we've really pushed it this far and said not only is it about how what information is being gathered, but how is that information being used? And we've basically used the hacker culture as a way of explaining it to the player for the reasons why it could potentially be detrimental, what these hackers would try and do in order to fight it, all these sorts of things. So there's been an evolution of who the hackers are. So there's definitely been a lot of new gameplay elements that have been added in order to address the situation, and what we've done in narrative as well to support that and to sort of craft them into their own stories.
Watch Dogs 2 will be available for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on November 15th. For more on Watch Dogs 2 and other upcoming Ubisoft games, keep it at Ubiblog.